Some good ideas coming in. Thank you, both of you. Just give you a few more minutes. So we've got a few of you suggesting sort of making sure you get away from the laptop, take those breaks. I like bookending my working day with dog walks. Another one liking getting out for a walk on the lunch break. Reading as well, that's another good one, sort of just giving you something else to occupy your mind while, you know, to just take that focus away from work for a few minutes. Avoiding sort of taking in too much news, that's been a big one for me as well. I think was just turning off those notifications so that we didn't have that constant stream of bad news, particularly at the start of sort of last year. There was a few more coming in. Finding many people not switching off from work, answering emails. Yeah, and we'll talk about how we can sort of overcome some of these and sort of put in those boundaries so that you're not spending all that time working. Okay, thank you everybody. So hopefully you can look back at this chat box and you know, look for some inspiration from others in terms of how they've supported their health and well-being. So I didn't want to just give you loads of tips and ideas. I wanted you to sort of come up with some of them yourself, because you know sort of you best and what will help you to sort of make those boundaries and look after your health and well-being at this time. So I love what you were saying, going for walks, getting active. That's exactly what we're working towards and sort of encouraging people to do. So that's brilliant. So we'll share a few more tips as we go along, but feel free to keep dropping in your ideas and your tips into the chat box. I'm sure people will find it useful. So just a little bit of background. Some of you will love working from home, others will be desperate to get back to the office, and I think that's okay. I think it's important to recognise that people work in different ways, people enjoy the different environments in different ways. So I've just put a few of sort of almost what I think around the benefits of working from home, but also some of the benefits of being in the office. There might be some that are missing, and you can also see that some are contradictory. So for some, the office might be distracting, but others might find more distractions at home, whether that be through kids, through pets, through wanting to get housework and house chores done. So there's not one size fits all. And I don't want you to dwell too much on this in the workshop, but just consider that, you know, working from home can either make our health and well-being easier, giving us more time to be active, giving us that time to switch off, that quiet time so that you can concentrate, but then harder in others to look after our well-being. So a lot of people felt quite isolated. You know, for those that really enjoy the social interaction from being at work, working from home was actually quite detrimental. So we can just sort of see those differences in how people might react to that change in our sort of working practices differently, and definitely in terms of when we're thinking about our health and well-being. So we're going to spend sort of 20-25 minutes on this short workshop, sort of giving you some tips on how to make sure you're looking after your well-being whilst working from home. Many of these aren't going to be new to you. You probably know that they're a good thing to do, but hopefully they'll act as a sort of handy reminder just to make sure that you're looking after yourself. So a lot of the information from this workshop is centred around the Every Mind Matters campaign from Public Health England and the NHS. Just a reminder that there's some great resources out there to support you with this change to our normal working styles, and it is still a change even though we're 20 months in. You know, we are still adjusting to this new way of working, and we're still not sure how long it's going to go on for. So just remembering those little reminders to make sure we're looking after ourselves, because if we can't look after ourselves, and we can't look after the people that we're working with. So there's a few links there just to the Every Mind Matters resource, and then also our working at home information on our website as well. But I'll signpost you to some other great resources later on in the workshop. So I've got 5 top tips that I'm going to run through. That, as I said, they're probably not new to you, but just think of them as little reminders, and feel free to add some suggestions into the chat if you've got any other ideas as to how you can sort of help to implement these things. So Number one is set and stick to a routine. This is essential for work-life balance, essentially. So we want to make sure, especially if we're working at home, that we're switching off when work is over and we're going back into that home mode. And whether that's looking after your children, switching off in the evening, watching TV, going out for exercise, you know, making sure that you don't blur those lines between work at home, especially when your office is your home. And for many, when we were back in sort of March last year, early January this year, for me especially, my home ended up being my office, where I slept, where I exercised. Like, it became all of those things all in one. So it's important to sort of set those boundaries and stick to your routine. I know it's harder than it's perhaps it seems, but try to follow your normal sleep and work patterns. You know, switch off at a sensible time, put your emails down, turn off your laptop, set it aside, and get on with sort of being you at home and doing the things that you normally enjoy once you've left the office, if you were in the office. One really useful tip that we've been sharing with people is to make the most of that commute time. So for some, one of the biggest benefits of working from home is that they don't have to spend half an hour in the car getting to work each morning. So don't lose that time. Try and resist setting the alarm for a bit later. Use that time that you would normally spend driving and instead spend it being active, reading, listening to a podcast. Use it as that bit of extra me time. And we sort of talked about this fake commute, like use that time to go out for a walk, and you know you're going to start and you're going to end at your home, but it's just making the most of that extra time that you might find that you've got now that you don't have to do that commute. Remember to try and stop working at that usual time and focus on making your home home again. As I said, it's just blurring those lines between home and work. So just be strict with yourself, try to turn off at a sensible time, and focus on you. And similar from that, try to avoid taking phone calls or checking emails outside of working hours. And I appreciate that for some, you know, catching up on a few emails on a Sunday afternoon might help you get ahead for the week ahead. But you know, if you do, just try to make sure the recipient doesn't feel like they have to respond, because a lot of the pressure then comes from them feeling like they need to respond to your email out of their working hours. Might work for one person, but it might not work for others. So just be mindful around that. Tip number 2, make sure you've got a dedicated workspace. So this is completely dependent on the environment around you, but try to set up a dedicated workspace to allow you to switch on and off from work when you need to, and find a quiet space. Sort of think about where the distractions are in your house, think about where you can get the most natural light, and just think about where you feel comfortable being able to work. So sofa's not always ideal, but if you've got a kitchen table where you can make a dedicated, you know, side for your desk, or if you've got a desk, then just try and keep that as work, and the rest of your house as home. As I said, designate an area for work, however small it is, just so that you've got that sort of, you know, this is my work area, and this is where I'm going to sit and do my work. You might want to move it throughout the day just to sort of mix up where you're sitting, the view that you have, but just remember to try and get that sort of comfortable space where you feel like you can work at home. Use the guidance from the NHS to set up your workspace correctly, so ensuring there's sort of no detriment to your eyesight and posture. Those is really important when we're in the office, so don't forget about it when you're working from home as well, thinking about how far your computer screen is away from you, how far your mouse, your chair height and sort of tilt on it, just making sure that that's all in a way that's comfortable to you, so you're not sort of slouching over your desk or straining your eyes too much, thinking about the glare from the windows, that sort of thing. There's lots of guidance out there to make sure that you're doing the right thing for that. Think about how you can brighten up your workspace. So add indoor plants, try and keep them alive, because I can't do that, but you know, stick up photos, posters, to help brighten up your workspace. And just make it a more enjoyable space within your home to work. I don't know what I've just done there. Yeah. And try and keep that space tidy, so put things away at the end of the day, shut your laptop down, put your keyboard and your mouse tidy, just so that you're not sat there looking at your laptop thinking, oh, I could really finish off that bit while it's sat there. Try and shut that down and don't open it again until you start work the next day. Tip number 3, give yourself a break. And I like that a lot of you have already sort of suggested that. So, you know, taking that time to go for a walk at lunch, or reading, or just doing something that isn't work so that you can switch off. Remember to take those breaks. I think if you think back to when we were in the office full time, naturally you would take those small breaks throughout the day, whether that would be walking to the kitchen to get a cup of tea, having those little conversations with colleagues, even if it's just over the desk. That's just that small break that you need from looking away from the screen. And I think a lot of us are quite guilty when we're working from home to just look at the screen all day and not have those little breaks. So just remember how long you're spending sat at that desk. Look away from the screens, concentrate on other things when you can, even if it's just for a few minutes. Just take your eyes away from that screen, and just to help with some of that eye strain that you might experience. Lots of you mentioned already, so schedule a lunch break, use that commute time, like I said, try to get fresh air outdoors if you can with a walk and a run. Even more important at the moment where it's dark when we start work, it's dark when we finish work. Try and make use of that time in the middle of the day, even if it does mean you work 10 minutes more at the beginning, 10 minutes more at the end, just to fit in that time during the day so you can get out, hopefully when it's sunny, and just get a little bit of fresh air in the daylight. And it's just remembering that even those short 5 breaks can help with your productivity. So it doesn't matter if you've only got 5 minutes to give in, you know, mid-morning, just to make sure you get up, stand up, go and make yourself a cup of tea. It's just having those breaks to come back feeling more refreshed and actually help with productivity long term as well. And avoid distractions. I know it's easier to say than do, but think about, you know, making sure you don't have the TV on in the background, unless you like that background noise and you need that to work. I love having the radio on, but it's not a distraction for me. It just helps know that, you know, I'm not just sat working in silence. Just think about what works for you, because what works for you might not work for someone else. And set aside that time for household chores. So even things like hoovering and washing up can be like a distraction when you're working at home. So just set aside time for doing those things sort of once you finish work, and use that time differently. Number 4 is stay connected. So one of the biggest reasons people have sort of struggled with their mental health over the last year, we know, has been from the isolation from others. And just remember that just because you are working from home, you can stay connected with your colleagues. So try to call instead of emailing, and remember you can sort of still have those social interactions with your colleagues, whether it be through virtual tea breaks or coffee mornings. We had sort of a regular Monday morning catch up with our team just to remind ourselves of, you know, have that normal catch up from a weekend like you would in the office. So finding out what people did, finding out what people got up to over the weekend, all those conversations you would normally have if you were sat next to your colleagues in the office. Just remember that that time's still available, to make sure you sort of set aside that time to socialise. You could finish each week with a team catch up, or you could just have those sort of midweek activities, a little quiz, sort of social interaction that you can miss if you don't schedule that time for it. Importantly, remember to let someone know if you're struggling. Keep talking to the people around you. As I said, I'll share some resources at the end of the workshop for further support. But remember that your mental health is important, so make that time to make sure that you're talking to someone about it, and getting that support if you need it. And finally, try and set boundaries with both the people you live with and your work colleagues. So make sure your family know when you're supposed to be working, to try and limit those distractions, and let your colleagues know when you have finished work for the day. So you can make time for both if you keep those communication channels open. Otherwise, you're just going to be trying to balance sort of too much at once. Be kind to yourself. So as we know, the whole theme of this festival is around kindness. Things are far from normal. Just because we have been working from home for a long time now, that doesn't mean things are sort of you know, this is it moving forward. We still need to remember to be kind to ourselves and others. Everyone's still dealing with things in lots of different ways. So just take this into consideration when you're talking to others and when you're thinking about how to look after your own health and well-being. Acknowledge that some days are going to be more difficult than others. You're not going to be equally as productive right across the week. There are going to be some days where you're just more distracted and find it harder to focus on what you need to do. Find what works for you in terms of keeping up on those productivity levels. So whether it is setting reminders, to-do lists, those sort of things that just keep you stay on track, and be realistic. As I said, not every day is going to be the same, but you can do your best to sort of spread that out across the week in terms of balancing your health and well-being and your work. So recently we've developed these wellbeing calendars as a little helpful way to remind you to look after your health and well-being. This month is all around kindness. So I'll drop the link in the chat box towards the end of the session, so you can download this, and just gives you those small reminders to be kind to yourself and others throughout the month. I know we've missed the first half of the month, but you can start back from the beginning and just use it for the next sort of 30 days moving forwards. Okay, so I'm now sort of going to sort of the second part of this workshop. So looking at how we can stay active while we're working from home, and it's great to see a lot of you have already talked about that. But here are just sort of some little hints and tips to stay active, especially while you're working from home. So for some, it's actually going to be easier to work from home and to be active whilst working from home. Like you said, you've got that more time, more flexibility. You don't have to worry about whether there's a shower around if you do want to go for a run at lunch. So here are some little small changes. So you could set reminders to stand and move. Sometimes if you've got an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, they might give you a little buzz at 10 to the hour just to remind you to get your steps in. But you can do them yourselves as well, to just set a diary reminder. So there pops up on your screen, just says, you know, take a few steps, go and get some fresh air. Doesn't have to be for very long, but it's just stepping away from that computer. Try and think about ways that you can reduce your sitting. So, excuse me, stand or pace while you're on the phone, you know, just so that you're not sitting down for 8 hours a day. Do some desk exercise or some desk yoga, and I'll show you some examples of that in a minute. And similar, you can get hold of resistance bands, really cheap, and they're just really good ways to just leave on your desk as a little reminder to just, you know, move your body, stretch a little bit, again, even if it's for only a few minutes. Like many of you said, get out for a lunchtime walk or a run, or use that time before work to do so. And even plan some virtual activity with your colleagues. So throughout this week, I know we've got some activity sessions. We've got boxercise this evening. Is it yoga on Thursday? Zumba as well. So, you know, just because we're not all together doesn't mean we can't still do some activity over the screen. So plan some virtual activity, or head out for a walking or a running group. Join one of the local opportunities near you, which we'll share later. And just as a little prompt or reminder, we've got an activity tracker on our website. So if you don't have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and you do just want that little handy reminder to keep track of how much activity you're doing, then use that, log it, get competitive with your colleagues if that's what motivates you. It's just another way to sort of think about your activity levels. We are running another workshop later on this afternoon at 2 o'clock, so you can find out a little bit more about some of the local physical activity opportunities available to help you to be more active. So I don't think it's too late for you to sign up, so come along for more information on that one if you're around later on. So we're going to practice what we preach here, and rather than sitting down for half an hour, 45 minutes, I thought we'd have a quick movement break. If you want to turn your cameras on, just so I feel like I'm not doing it on my own, that would be great, but don't worry if not. It's only going to be a few movements and you won't even need to get up off your seat. So just to give you a few ideas as to how you can get more active just from your desk, and just make sure that we're thinking about our posture and stretching out those muscles. So first exercise is going to be a seated spinal rotation. So while you're sitting down, you're just going to cross your arms over your chest, grab your shoulders, and you're just going to rotate your upper body from the waist, turning from left to right as long as you feel comfortable. So you don't need to go too far. And if you just do 5 on each side, so 10 in total. Okay, and that's just helping to stretch out your back, sort of readjust your posture there. Perfect. So the next one's going to be a shoulder stretch. So you're going to hold one arm across your body and then pull your elbow into your chest using your other arm. So if you just count to 10 on each side and then swap over. I think I've lost an arm with my screen. Okay. Okay, hopefully that's just stretching out your shoulders nice. Give it a little bit of shake. Next one is some shoulder shrugs. So you're just going to lift your shoulders up to your ears, hold it for a few seconds, and then let them drop down. If you just do 10 of them. Perfect. And when you're done with that one, we're just going to do one more exercise. So this one's a shoulder extension. We're going to hold both our arms over our head, link your palms so that they're facing upwards, and then just reach as high as you can. Let's move forward a bit. And if you just hold that for 10 seconds, release it if you need to, and just go back into that stretch. Perfect. Well done, everyone. So just sort of reflect on how that felt. Do you feel a little bit more refreshed? Is it nice to just sort of look away from the screen, feel a bit more productive maybe? I know that was only a few minutes, but it just sort of shows it doesn't take very long just to sort of reset your body, think about your muscles, where you're sitting, how you're sitting, and just look away from the screen for a few minutes as well. So there's lots of you only need to sort of Google desk exercises or desk yoga to come up with some examples. So they were just a few, but there's lots you can do, even sort of standing up and just being around your desk. You don't need a great deal of space. So just some ideas for you there. Just sort of nearly coming to the end, but we're just going to touch on sort of eating well as well. So we've talked about looking after our mental health, staying active. We need to eat well as well to look after sort of our wider health and well-being. So remember to have a filling breakfast. I think it can be a little bit tempting when, you know, you're getting on early in the morning, getting started, you're already at home, you can sort of let those things slip without your normal routine. So try and have a filling breakfast, set you up for the day. I think for me, I've been quite guilty. I'm very close to the fridge when I'm working at home. So try and have those healthy snacks in. So, you know, when you do want those snacks, there's just those options available to you. Think about those that release your energy slowly, so that you're sort of maintaining that energy throughout the day. I find it really helpful to meal prep and batch cook throughout the week. So, you know, you stock up that freezer so that, you know, if you are short on time, you can just take something out of the freezer and you know you've got a healthy option available to you. You can either do that sort of at the weekend or midweek, just to plan for the next few days ahead. Just saves you that time and actually can give you that time to get out for a walk at lunchtime if you want to, because you don't need to think about what you're having for lunch, just need to reheat it. And importantly, stay hydrated. So think about how that might improve your concentration. Keep a water bottle on your desk as a bit of a way of a reminder to make sure you're drinking. Perfect. And see one of you got one already. You know, if you know that you need to drink that 2-3 times to make sure you've got your 2 litres in a day, it can just be that sort of little prompt to make sure you're drinking enough. Finally, so we've got loads of resources, as I mentioned, to help you sort of think about how you can look after your health while you're at home. In terms of mental health, there's loads of resources from Mental Health at Work, Every Mind Matters, as I said, and then specifically for NHS social care staff, we've got the Shout helpline and also our frontline as well, which just gives you those really useful and important signposting resources to help you if you are really struggling. Similar to our wellbeing calendar, we've also got a bit of a wellbeing checklist to help you think about how you're looking after your health, but also how this sort of marries up with your goals for work as well. So I'll just pop those links in the chat box so that you can go to download them. So those links are now in the chat, so you can free to download them. You can either print them out or use them as a bit of a reminder on your screen. I've got the wellbeing calendar sort of saved as my screensaver, just as a reminder of those little things we can do each day. As I said, lots of great online support available too, so make sure you do go and visit those resources if you need them. So just on that wellbeing checklist before we finish, and you don't need to put these in the chat box, but think about what your goals are for this week. It might be trying to attend one of the activity sessions we've got later on in the week, trying to make sure you set aside time to go for a walk in the break of your day. Just make a note on your desk as a little reminder. Check back at the end of the week for a chance to reflect. It might be trying to sort of think about how you can be more kind this week, with the theme of kindness running sort of throughout the festival. But just spend a few minutes there sort of thinking about what your goals are.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Bryony. Thank you for such an informative session. There's so much to take away from that in terms of mental health and staying active and eating well. And I really appreciate the resources you put in the chat as well, that people can kind of follow up on. We're going to make sure that this recording and all of the resources are actually accessible through our website. So we'll be uploading that at the end of our festival week. But just before we do finish, I did just want to take a few minutes just to highlight 4 things. So the first thing is the kindness video. We want the kindness theme to continue throughout the week, exactly as Bryony said. So there is a full video. We will put the link to the full video in the chat. The second thing is we want everybody throughout our festival to pledge in terms of their commitment to kindness. And we're going to put a link in the chat in terms of how you can download the pledge. And if you can actually tweet your pledge on hashtag #BeKindStayKind, we'd really appreciate that. The third thing to mention is, whilst it is the theme around this year's festival is around kindness, we have actually got some different variety of thank you cards. So do take the time to thank people around you, whether that's at home, whether that's at work, because let's start to show that recognition. Let's start to show that appreciation. We all know the huge value that places and the importance, particularly from a wellbeing perspective. And finally, throughout our festival, we do want feedback from all of our delegates. So we are actually going to put the link in the chat. Please take a few minutes to fill out the evaluation form. We welcome your feedback. It helps us improve our sessions. And if you submit your feedback, we will actually enter you into a free prize draw. And there's lots of exciting prizes. So remember to do your pledge. Remember to thank people around you. Do take the time to look at the full kindness video and spend a few minutes. It doesn't take long, just completing that evaluation form. Do join us at future sessions. Bryony's back on later on, but we've got a really, really exciting programme throughout the week. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I think I've covered everything I need to. Is there anything I missed, Jem and Mariam?
No. Yeah.
We've got everything. We've got everything in the chat as well. We did want to tweet a photo, Bryony and colleagues that are actually on, and anybody that would like to appear in the photo, this is the second session of the day. Could we ask everybody that's on the call, that's comfortable to go onto a photo, to just put your camera on?